On a quiet evening in a suburban neighborhood, the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Marcus, a black man in his 40s, took his usual evening walk to unwind after a long day at the courthouse. He enjoyed these walks as a way to clear his mind, reflect on his day, and soak in the beauty of his surroundings. Marcus had worked hard to become a respected judge, known for his fairness and commitment to justice. He often thought about his journey from a small town, where he faced many challenges, to the esteemed position he held today. As he strolled along the tree-lined streets, the sound of leaves rustling and the gentle breeze filled the air. He greeted neighbors and smiled at children playing outside, feeling a strong sense of community. However, the peaceful ambiance was suddenly interrupted when he noticed a police car pulling up beside him. The vehicle came to a halt, and its headlights shone brightly, casting a spotlight on Marcus as he walked. The driver's door swung open, and a young officer stepped out. Officer Thompson was new to the force, eager to prove himself but still learning the ropes of his job. He wore a crisp uniform and had a serious expression on his face. As he approached Marcus, a knot formed in Marcus's stomach. He had experienced this type of interaction before being stopped by police for no apparent reason. "Good evening," Officer Thompson said, his voice firm but not unfriendly. "What are you doing out here?" Marcus felt a rush of emotions, frustration, confusion, and a tinge of anger. "I'm just taking a walk," he replied, trying to keep his tone calm. "Is there a problem?" Psst. Officer Thompson glanced at Marcus, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Do you have any identification on you?" he asked, his tone shifting to one of suspicion. Marcus was taken aback. "Why do I need to show you ID?" "I haven't done anything wrong," he said, his voice steady but laced with disbelief. He felt the weight of the moment, recognizing the implications of being a black man stopped by a police officer. "Just following protocol," Officer Thompson replied, crossing his arms. "It's late and I need to make sure everything's okay." This response only fueled Marcus's frustration. He knew that many people walked in this neighborhood without being stopped, and he couldn't shake the feeling that his race was influencing this encounter. Took a deep breath, reminding himself that he had the right to stand his ground. "I'm a judge," Marcus said, his voice firm. "I'm not a criminal. I'm just out for a walk." The officer hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. He had heard of Marcus, known for his integrity and impactful rulings in the courtroom. But in that moment, he seemed unsure how to react to this unexpected revelation. Marcus watched as Officer Thompson's expression shifted. The tension hung in the air, and time felt as if it had slowed. Both men stood there, caught in a moment that held the potential to change their perspectives. Marcus realized this was not just about him, it was about the larger issues of race, respect, and understanding that plagued their society. As they stood face to face, the evening grew quiet, and the weight of their encounter deepened. Would they find common ground, or would this moment further entrench the divide between them? The silence between Marcus and Officer Thompson felt heavy, almost suffocating. Both men were caught in a moment that was charged with tension. Marcus felt his heart race. He had always prided himself on staying calm in difficult situations. But this encounter was testing his resolve. He took another deep breath, trying to find the right words to ease the tension in the air. Officer Thompson, meanwhile, was grappling with a mix of emotions. He had been on the force for only a few months, eager to serve and protect his community. However, he was also aware of the stereotypes and biases that sometimes clouded an officer's judgment. As he stood before Marcus, he began to question whether he was acting on instinct or following the biases he had been taught. "I'm not here to cause trouble," Marcus said, trying to keep his tone steady. "I'm just enjoying my evening. I live nearby, and this is my routine," gestured to the houses lining the street, hoping to convey a sense of normalcy and community. Officer Thompson shifted his weight from one foot to the other still, unsure of how to proceed. "I understand," he replied slowly, his voice softer now.
"You get it."
"But we get calls sometimes about people walking in the neighborhood late at night. I have to check in, you know?" Marcus nodded, though he wasn't entirely convinced. "I get that," he said, his frustration still simmering beneath the surface. but I wish you would see me for who I am, not just as a black man walking alone. This kind of stop happens too often." As those words hung in the air, Officer Thompson felt a pang of realization. He had been trained to be vigilant, to look for potential threats, but he had never considered how those actions might affect the people he encountered. He had read about stories like Marcus's in the news, but seeing it unfold in front of him was a different experience altogether. "Can I see your ID?" Officer Thompson asked again, this time with a hint of reluctance. He wanted to maintain his authority, but didn't want to escalate the situation further. Marcus hesitated. He thought about how many times he had been asked for identification, simply because of his skin color. "I can show you my ID," he said finally. "But I think it's important for you to understand that this isn't just about paperwork. It's about respect." Feeling a surge of courage, Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. He handed Officer Thompson his identification, hoping it would help demystify the situation. As the officer examined the ID, Marcus watched him closely, searching for any sign of recognition. When Officer Thompson finally looked up, his eyes widened slightly. "You're Judge Marcus Thomas," he said, astonished. "I've heard about your work. You've made some significant rulings about civil rights." In that moment, the dynamics shifted. Officer Thompson's posture softened as he realized he was standing in front of someone who had dedicated his life to justice and equality. The tension that had filled the air moments before began to dissolve. "Yeah, that's me," Marcus replied, feeling a mix of relief and frustration. "I fight for fairness, and I believe in the importance of understanding each other." Officer Thompson nodded, feeling a wave of humility wash over him. He understood now that this encounter was more than just a routine stop. It was an opportunity for growth and understanding. The realization made him rethink his approach to his job and how he interacted with the community as the two men stood. There, the setting sun casting long shadows on the ground, they found themselves at a crossroads, one that could lead to greater understanding and change. As the recognition settled in, the air around Marcus and Officer Thompson shifted dramatically. The initial tension that had filled the space began to give way to a more profound understanding. Officer Thompson, now aware of who Marcus truly was, felt a wave of respect wash over him. It was one thing to read about a judge's work in the news. It was another to stand face to face with someone who had fought for justice and equality in their community. "Judge Thomas," Officer Thompson said, his voice steadying. "I didn't know it was you. I've seen your name in the news a lot lately. You've done some incredible work for our community." There was a newfound sincerity in his tone. Marcus could sense the officer's effort to bridge the gap between them. "Thank you," Marcus replied, feeling a mix of pride and weariness. He knew that his role as a judge came with great responsibility, but also with challenges, especially when it came to issues of race and justice. "I appreciate that you recognize my work, but it's important to remember that not everyone has the same experiences. Being stopped like this can be frightening, especially for people who have faced bias before." Officer Thompson nodded, absorbing Marcus's words, began to realize how his position as a police officer carried weight in the community and how those interactions could shape perceptions. "I can see how this situation might have felt threatening to you," he admitted. "I'm still learning how to do my job the right way. It's easy to fall back on assumptions without thinking." Marcus appreciated the officer's honesty. "We all have biases, whether we realize it or not," he said. "It's how we respond to those biases that matters. I believe in the power of conversation. If we can talk openly, we can understand each other better." The officer took a moment to reflect on Marcus's words. "You're right. I didn't take the time to understand who you were before jumping to conclusions," he said. "I'm sorry for that. I want to serve the community fairly, but sometimes I let fear lead my actions." They stood there in the fading light, both men contemplating the weight of their words. Marcus could see that Officer Thompson was genuinely trying to improve. The conversation had shifted from a confrontation to a moment of mutual learning. "Just remember," Marcus continued, "everyone you meet has their own story. Not every situation is what it seems at first glance. Understanding that can make a huge difference in how we interact with one another." Officer Thompson felt a deep sense of humility as he listened to Marcus's wise words. He realized that his role was not just to enforce the law, but to build trust within the community. "Thank you for sharing your perspective," he said earnestly. "I'll carry this lesson with me." Marcus smiled, feeling a sense of relief. "I appreciate that, officer. I hope we can continue to have these kinds of conversations. It's important for both of us." As they wrapped up their discussion, the sun dipped below the horizon, leaving a soft twilight glow. There was a newfound respect between them, and both men felt lighter than they had at the beginning of the encounter. They had taken the first step toward breaking down barriers, and both hoped it would lead to greater understanding in the future. After a few moments of comfortable silence, Marcus turned to continue his walk. "Have a good evening, Officer Thompson," he said, feeling grateful for the unexpected change in their interaction. "You too?" Judge Thomas, the officer, replied, watching as Marcus walked away, his figure slowly fading into the gathering darkness. As Marcus continued his evening walk, the gentle sounds of the neighborhood surrounded him, the distant laughter of children playing, the rustling of leaves and the soft chirping of crickets. However, his mind was still focused on the encounter with Officer Thompson. The conversation had shifted from confrontation to understanding. It left him feeling hopeful, yet reflective about the complexities of their society. Meanwhile, Officer Thompson stood by his patrol car, watching Marcus walk away. The weight of the interaction pressed heavily on his mind. He found himself questioning the assumptions he had made earlier. The encounter had been more than just a routine stop. It had been a chance to learn and grow. As he leaned against the hood of his car, Officer Thompson replayed the conversation in his head. He thought about how easy it was to fall into the trap of seeing someone as a stereotype instead of a person. He had been taught to be vigilant, but now he realized that being a good officer also meant being empathetic and understanding. The street was quiet, and a cool breeze swept through the area. For the first time, Officer Thompson felt a sense of vulnerability. He was not just a police officer enforcing the law. He was also a member of the community, navigating the same challenges and fears as everyone else. He began to understand that his job required more than just authority, it required compassion. With his heart still racing, he took a deep breath, trying to process the emotions swirling inside him. What if I had treated Marcus differently? He wondered, what if I had opened the conversation instead of jumping to conclusions? The what-ifs lingered in his mind like shadows, prompting him to reflect on the importance of his role. After a few moments of contemplation, Officer Thompson made a silent promise to himself. He decided that he would strive to approach future interactions with more openness. He wanted to learn from this experience and actively work to build trust within the community. It was a small step, but he knew it could lead to something greater. Just then, he noticed a group of teenagers walking down the sidewalk. They were laughing and joking, completely unaware of the earlier encounter he had just experienced. Officer Thompson felt a mix of emotions as he watched them. He wanted to protect them, but also to connect with them, instead of simply watching. From a distance, he decided to approach them. "Hey there," he called out, his voice friendly and inviting. The teenagers paused, surprised by his sudden approach. "I just wanted to check in and see how you all are doing this evening." "What?" Teenagers looked at each other, unsure of how to respond. One of them, a girl with braided hair, smiled and replied, "We're good, just hanging out." Officer Thompson felt a warmth spread through him at their casual response. "That's great to hear. Just remember to stay safe, okay?" They nodded, and the group resumed their laughter as they walked past him. As he watched them disappear down the street, Officer Thompson felt a sense of fulfillment. He realized that building connections didn't always have to be serious or heavy. Sometimes it could start with simple conversations and genuine care. Returning to his patrol car, Officer Thompson reflected on the evening's events. He felt grateful for the unexpected encounter with Marcus, which had opened his eyes to the importance of understanding and connection. The pause in their conversation had transformed his perspective, and he hoped that it would inspire him to make a positive difference in his community. As Marcus walked further down the street, he too felt a sense of hope. The evening had taken an unexpected turn, and he was grateful for the dialogue that had unfolded. Both men had taken steps toward understanding, and in that moment, had begun to bridge a gap that had long existed between them and their roles in society. As Marcus continued his walk, the events of the evening weighed heavily on his mind. He felt a mix of relief and lingering frustration. The encounter with Officer Thompson had shifted from a tense confrontation to a moment of understanding, but Marcus knew that many others might not have the same experience. He reflected on the countless stories he had heard from people who faced bias and discrimination. Meanwhile, Officer Thompson sat in his patrol car, staring out at the empty street. He felt a sense of responsibility settling on his shoulders. The conversation with Marcus had opened his eyes to the importance of empathy in law enforcement. He thought about how easy it was to let fear dictate his actions. He wanted to be a police officer who fostered trust rather than fear, and tonight had been a crucial turning point. Just then, Officer Thompson received a call over the radio about a reported disturbance a few blocks away. His heart raced as he considered his next move. He could feel the weight of the badge on his chest. It reminded him of the duty he had to protect the community. However, he also recalled his conversation with Marcus, and he thought about how he could approach this situation differently. After a moment of hesitation, he decided to respond to the call. As he drove toward the reported location, he reminded himself to stay calm and open-minded. He wanted to handle the situation with care, especially after the lesson he had just learned. Upon arriving at the scene, Officer Thompson found a small crowd gathered outside a convenience store. A group of young men was arguing loudly there, voices echoing in the night air. He took a deep breath, reminding himself to approach the situation with the same understanding he had shown Marcus. As he stepped out of the car, he noticed the tension in the air. The arguing young men were visibly upset, but Officer Thompson also saw fear in their eyes. Instead of marching up demanding order, he chose to take a different approach. He walked over slowly, his hands relaxed at his sides. "Hey everyone," he called out, trying to project a friendly demeanor. "What's going on here?" The argument paused, and the young men turned to face him. Their expressions ranged from anger to confusion, but Officer Thompson remained calm. "I'm here to help, so let's talk about what's happening," he said, making eye contact with each of them. One of the young men, a tall figure with a deep voice, stepped forward. "We're just trying to sort things out, officer," he said, his tone still tense, but less confrontational. "It's a misunderstanding, that's all." Officer Thompson nodded, encouraging them to continue. "I understand. Misunderstandings happen a lot. Can you tell me what sparked this argument?" As the young men began to explain their side of the story, Officer Thompson listened attentively. He realized that they were frustrated over a misunderstanding involving a friend who had been wrongly accused of shoplifting. Rather than jumping to conclusions, Officer Thompson was able to mediate the situation calmly. After listening to both sides, he suggested a solution that involved bringing the store owner into the conversation. "Let's make sure everyone is on the same page," he said. "It's important that we resolve this together without anyone getting hurt." The young men agreed, and soon the store owner joined them. With Officer Thompson facilitating the discussion, the misunderstanding was cleared up. The young men thanked him for his approach, and the atmosphere shifted from anger to relief. As Marcus continued his walk, he felt a sense of pride in his profession. The evening had brought unexpected lessons, but he knew that it was moments like these that could spark real change in their community. Both he and Officer Thompson had taken steps toward understanding, and in doing so they had begun to reshape their relationship with one another and the world around them. As Marcus made his way home, he felt a sense of calm wash over him. The earlier encounter with Officer Thompson had led to a meaningful exchange, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had changed. He had always believed in the power of dialogue, but this evening had brought that belief to life in a way he never expected. Meanwhile, Officer Thompson returned to his patrol car after successfully mediating the argument at the convenience store. He felt a sense of accomplishment as he drove through the neighborhood. The night had started with tension and misunderstanding, but it had transformed into an opportunity for connection and learning. He realized that his role as a police officer was not just about enforcing laws, but also about building relationships within the community he served. As he drove, Officer Thompson thought about Marcus's words. Everyone has their own story. He replayed the conversation in his mind, recognizing how important it was to see individuals as more than just their appearances or circumstances. He understood that he needed to approach each situation with empathy, not just authority. In the days that followed, both men carried the lessons they had learned that evening. Marcus returned to the courthouse with a renewed sense of purpose. He began to incorporate discussions about community and understanding into his courtroom proceedings. He wanted to emphasize the importance of seeing the humanity in everyone, whether they were defendants or victims. One afternoon, during a community outreach program at the courthouse, Marcus spoke to a group of young people about their rights and responsibilities. It's important to understand the system, but it's equally important to engage with it thoughtfully, he told them. Every person you meet has a story. When we take the time to listen, we can create a better community. Together, the young audience listened intently, nodding in agreement. Marcus saw their faces light up as they began to understand the power of their voices. He encouraged them to ask questions and share their thoughts, fostering an open dialogue. Back on the streets, Officer Thompson made a conscious effort to change how he interacted with the community. He started conducting regular foot patrols, engaging with residents, and getting to know them. He introduced himself to shop owners, attended neighborhood meetings, and even participated in community events. The more he connected with people, the more he understood their concerns and aspirations. One evening, while patrolling a local park, Officer Thompson encountered a group of children playing basketball. He stopped to watch them for a moment, and then he decided to join in. "Mind if I play?" he asked with a smile. The kids looked surprised, but excited to have a police officer on the court as they played. Officer Thompson chatted with them about school, their favorite sports, and their dreams for the future. The laughter and friendly competition broke down. Any barriers that might have existed between them, he could see how much it meant to the kids to connect with him as a person rather than just as an authority figure. Meanwhile, Marcus received positive feedback from the community about his outreach efforts. People began to approach him with their concerns and suggestions, feeling empowered to share their thoughts. He noticed a shift in the atmosphere around the WAS, growing sense of trust and collaboration, the change that had begun with a simple encounter between Marcus and Officer Thompson was starting to ripple throughout the community. Both men had taken steps toward understanding, and as they continued their work, they were making a difference together. They had each learned that true progress comes from empathy and communication, and that every interaction is an opportunity to build a better future. Weeks passed since the fateful evening when Marcus and Officer Thompson had their life-changing encounter. Both men felt a sense of purpose growing stronger each day. Marcus continued to engage with the community through outreach programs, while Officer Thompson worked diligently to build trust on the streets. Their paths had crossed in a way that sparked not only personal growth, but also a collective change in their community. One sunny afternoon, Marcus organized a community forum at the courthouse. He wanted to create a space where residents could voice their concerns and ideas. He hoped to foster a sense of unity and understanding among people from all walks of life. Flyers were posted around the neighborhood, inviting everyone to come and share their thoughts. As the day of the forum arrived, the courthouse buzzed with energy. People from different backgrounds gathered, eager to participate in the discussion. Marcus stood at the front, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. He knew how important this moment was for the community. He wanted to ensure everyone felt heard. "Thank you all for coming," Marcus began, his voice warm and inviting. "Today we are here to talk about our community and how we can make it better together. I want to hear your stories and ideas." The room filled with a sense of anticipation. One by one, residents began to share their thoughts. Some spoke about the need for more youth programs, while others voiced concerns about safety and police interactions. Marcus listened attentively, nodding and taking notes, appreciating the courage it took for people to share their experiences. As the discussion continued, Officer Thompson entered the room. He had heard about the forum and wanted to show his support. He walked in with a friendly smile, and the crowd fell silent. Curious about what he would say, "Hello, everyone," Officer Thompson said, his voice steady. "I'm here to listen. and learn from you. I want to understand your concerns and how I can do better as a police officer." Some residents exchanged glances, surprised by his openness. This was not the usual interaction they had with law enforcement. Officer Thompson encouraged them to speak freely about their experiences with the police. He wanted to hear both the positive and negative stories. As the forum progressed, the atmosphere shifted from apprehension to collaboration. People felt empowered to share their stories, and the dialogue flowed freely. Marcus facilitated the conversation, weaving together the various perspectives and turning them into actionable ideas. One young woman stood up and said, "I appreciate that you're here, Officer Thompson. It's important for us to talk about our experiences. We need to work together to build trust." Her words resonated with many in the room, and others nodded in agreement. After the forum, Marcus and Officer Thompson spoke privately, feeling a sense of accomplishment. "This was a great start," Marcus said, a smile on his face. "We need more conversations like this." "Absolutely," Officer Thompson replied. "Today showed me how important it is to listen. I want to continue this partnership with the community and with you." As they shook hands, a bond formed between them, one built on mutual respect and a shared commitment to making a difference. They knew that change would not happen overnight, but they were dedicated to working together for a better future. In the weeks that followed, the impact of their efforts began to take shape. More community events were organized, and residents felt more comfortable approaching Officer Thompson with their concerns. The neighborhood began to flourish, with people coming together to support one another. Marcus and Officer Thompson often found themselves reflecting on that one evening when a simple walk led to a powerful change. They had learned that understanding and empathy were the keys to building a better community. Their stories intertwined, creating a narrative of hope and possibility as they continued their work. Both men remained committed to fostering an environment where everyone felt valued and heard. The journey was ongoing, but they were determined to keep moving forward, one conversation at a time. Together, they were proving that change is possible when we take the time to listen, understand, and connect.